Welcome to Flashback Friday and Harvesting Wisdom. Today, we revisit a powerful moment from our archives that continues to inspire sustainable change. Let's journey back and rediscover the wisdom that shapes our future.
Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. Today, my special guest is Johannes, and we are in Hamburg, Germany, with Vivocon Aqua, which is, an amazing nonprofit that started in 2006. I say it's amazing because there's so much more advanced than all the different things we're doing from a standpoint of fundraising and doing a somewhat business model and just the amount of volunteers and how much growth you've had. Why don't you tell me a little about your background with Vivocon Aqua and walk us through because it was pretty complicated.
It is.
Web of ambition, I guess.
That's true. Thanks for having us, first of all, and thanks for being our guest in the Villa Viva in Hamburg. Yes, Vivocon Aqua can be complicated at some point. When I actually started off working with Vivocon Aqua, not for Vivocon Aqua because that came later. When I started off working with Vivocon Aqua was in 2012. Actually, I got involved with an art gallery inside a football stadium hosted by Vivocon Aqua. I can tell you later more about it. But that was my first job or my first involvement with Vivocon Aqua. And then from then on, I supported the organization because I really liked the idea of getting people clean drinking water with creative things, basically, loads of them. And then in 2015, I started working full-time for Vivocon Aqua, doing fundraising and marketing, and have been doing that since then.
What skill sets did you were with an art gallery and a football stadium for Vivocon Aqua. So what skill set, what were you doing at that? Were you an artist? Are you a promoter? What was your skill set?
No, I'm not an artist. I was like, my art skills only like basic level. I've got two small children. They are better than me. But no, I studied literature and media. I used to do loads of cultural work, like events, organizing events like readings and art galleries and concerts and stuff like that. And for Vivocon Aqua, I was doing press, actually, like media and press related things around the art gallery as a project manager. And then from there on, I kept supporting them in issues of project management around fundraising, marketing.
Okay, so we're in a hotel.
Yes.
This is the second hotel, a different venture than the original venture when it was started. And we just did a tour. We'll have that here. And that's run by an entire different group of people who know how to run hotels. And it's a cool space for anyone, and it's really cost effective for anybody coming into Hamburg that wants to have something, an alternative, but also a percentage of this revenue is going toward these projects. Is that right?
That's right. This is the newest idea of social business in the Vivocon Aqua cosmos, as we say, because it's getting more like a cosmos with different planets doing different things. And the idea is, as always, when we do social business, as we call it, we establish a product that is of like daily business, daily use for the people, like a hotel. Whenever you visit Hamburg, you need a place to stay.
Sure.
And when the opportunity came up to build this house, we said like, hey, there are loads of hotels in Hamburg, but we can do it differently because we can do it in a way that the profits of this house go into social product or social projects. Or that was the idea. And the thing about Vivocon Aqua is we do loads of different things. We can talk that through, from mineral water to toilet paper to art galleries in a football stadium and to a hotel. But in the end, the profits go into the NGO Vivocon Aqua financing water projects around the globe.
Is the design of this hotel the same as the one you have in Cape Town, or is that completely different? Because this is triangular.
Completely different.
Yeah, this is like old Bauhaus design in my mind, and that's kind of where I went to school when I was much younger. Kind of a descendant of this style of brutalism, and it's really very cool, very progressive, still to this day. But what do you have in Cape Town?
In Cape Town is actually completely different because also typically Vivocon Aqua, we take the opportunity when it comes. And in Cape Town, we took over an old hostel and gave it a fresh new look, like with paint and new interior, but still it's a hostel. So it's like, it's got a nice pool and stuff, but it's a hostel. It's not like really expensive. It's not like 12 stories high like this house. It's just a hostel. But it was the proof of concept that we can do a social hotel concept.
So that's that's the concept, and then you're like, hey, let's build this at scale.
Yeah.
So that's now I go to Cape Town almost every year. Have you been to that hotel?
I haven't. Like I've got colleagues, one of my colleagues actually is on their way to Cape Town from working there. So I've got loads of video calls with people chilling by the pool and enjoying the nice weather in the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I need to go.
It's a nice change of pace from here. Of course, that time of the year, I generally don't do Africa because it's hotter and more humid. You know, I kind of like going in May, June when it's perfect, like the weather we have out here today in Hamburg.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I think we'd be remiss to not talk about the founder who started this. And I mean, I guess it's good to see someone who's crazier than me, especially when they've been successful. But he started off as a professional footballer, and tell us about him.
Yeah, his name is Benny Adrian. He used to play professional football, or soccer as you say in the US. And he used to play for different clubs, from Stuttgart to Braunschweig to FC St. Pauli, which is Hamburg based. Back then in 2005, 2006, they were playing third division football in Germany. So he wasn't Ronaldo, he wasn't Messi. He was a good player, but he wasn't earning millions of money.
Right.
But he was also always open-minded and socially interested. And when he came to St. Pauli, the football club itself is different from other football clubs because it's really social. It's like they are anti-racist, anti-homophobic, openly, like telling them the fans are the same thing. The club is very, very socially involved in the community they are in. It's in the heart of Hamburg. And they were actually, back then in 2005, they were flying over to Havana, Cuba, to do a training camp. Usually football clubs do training camps, European football clubs do training camps in Spain or Turkey or some nice sunny places, but they were flying to Cuba.
That's a sunny place.
It's a sunny place, but it's a bit far away.
Right.
And it's not your usual soccer place to be, but yeah. They went there and had like really nice weather, good training conditions, and had a good time. But he saw that around the training camp in the kindergarten, the children didn't have any clean drinking water. It needed to be boiled, to be clean, and it was a struggle. And when he was back in Hamburg, he thought about it for quite some time, and then he said, you need to do something. And then he wanted to start a water project on Cuba, giving these children access to clean drinking water. That was the start. And then from there, he developed the idea of doing something social, but doing it fun. He didn't want to stand somewhere and collect just donations, asking people to help. He wanted to do creative things that make people have fun and collect donations while doing it. And then he started off in the network of St. Pauli, asking artists and musicians who are fans of the club, like famous German bands like Die Ärzte with Bela B and Fettes Brot, which is a hip-hop band from Hamburg, and they're quite big in Germany. And he asked them if they were willing to give some entrance fees from their concerts to a good cause. And he asked them to do readings and stuff that people would attend and then collect donations while doing that. He even asked his team members from the football team to sing Christmas carols and have fans pay for it, which was, the music wasn't good, but it was a fun thing. So in the end, he had more money than he needed to do the water project. And from there on, basically, Vivocon Aqua developed into what it is now. And
which is a sustainable model, which is really difficult for an NGO.
And he ended his playing career being 27 years old, and then doing full-time Vivocon Aqua. He even got his best friends from his childhood. He's from southern Germany, Stuttgart area, to join him in Hamburg and do Vivocon Aqua full-time. Actually financially supported by their parents, to be honest. But they were living, they were sharing a flat in Hamburg and doing Vivocon Aqua. That was the beginning. And then it developed from there on.
Yeah. So with this podcast, we always tell the stories of individuals or organizations that are involved with sustainable projects that are earth-friendly. They're primarily land management, agriculture, which agriculture is everything. I mean, it requires water, it requires nutrition, as the next guest will talk to. But that's where it starts. And recently, we've been asking the question, why bother? And so, you know, he was a professional soccer player, or football player, and he could have done other things, right? And the same with you. You could be working. And in the reality, people ask me all the time, why are you doing what you're doing? And, you know, for a long time, I really didn't have a great answer. You know, so I wonder, is it something within all of us, or is it take a special person? Is it something that, you know, you saw that your parents did, or he did, you know, for some other reason? Or is it just something that all of us really want to do, but for some reason we never get to it? What's your thought on that?
Actually, I think it can be different things for different people. For Benny, it was his passion to do things that he liked to do and with fun, and connecting that with something social just fit in right into his lifestyle. And then that was for him the driver. And I mean, to fund something like Vivocon Aqua and to keep it going, especially in the beginning, takes a lot of commitment. And he put that in there because he was really clear on the idea is great. Do things that are fun, raise awareness, and do something social out of it. And then with that, he catches everybody. And he catches me as well, because working in a normal job, you spend so much time of your life working. And when you have the opportunity to do that and connect it with something bigger, something social.
Bigger than yourself.
That really is for me the thing to do, because I like to spend, I'm really privileged, to be honest. I get paid for my job. I've got a nice house. I've got a wife, 2 kids. So I don't have much to worry about living in Germany. Maybe I could earn more money with the skills I have in a job working for a huge company, maybe. But I don't need to, because I've got everything I need.
Right.
And then investing my time in something social is a huge benefit. Whenever you go over and see what the projects do, that gives you quite some satisfaction.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's what I really get involved with. But so for average, you know, anyone who's listening out there, right, that's not, you know, they have normal jobs and they look at what we're doing and think maybe that we're zealots or some crazy form or whatever. There's a frustration, I think. We know there's global warming, right? You're creating villages, you're helping with both sanitation, but really giving water, which is, you can't grow. You know, in Africa, it's rain-fed agriculture, and if it doesn't rain, they don't eat, right? So you're helping, you know, immensely with that. That wasn't originally your, or his idea was, hey, we're going to help combat global warming, but in essence, by having communities that are more sustainable by having water to be able to grow and feed yourselves, you're really taking a big chunk out of this whole global warming thing, right? So, and climate change. What one of the things that people get is frustrated though. They see plastic bottles everywhere, but they still might use a plastic bottle, right? They understand composting is good, but at the same time, at their own homes, maybe they don't separate it correctly. And I think part of it is, hey, I'm just a drop in the bucket. What impact can I possibly have? So that's the whole question really is, why bother? So for you and your team, that's a question I would ask. Well, why bother? Can you guys make an impact?
Yes, we can, because it matters. Because when you look at it, the big scale, we've got 703 million people on Earth without access to clean drinking water. I think we've got 1.2 billion people without access to sanitation, and like 2 billion people not able to wash their hands.
Right.
That's the numbers, and that's huge. In the last years of Vivocon Aqua's history, we gave access to clean drinking water and sanitation and hygiene to more than 4 million people. Compared to the big numbers, that sounds small, but it's 4 million people. That's huge.
Oh, that's...
And in the end, we do bother because what we do makes fun, and that's the fun thing is like,
you get satisfaction.
We get
fulfillment.
Yeah, not only satisfaction and fulfillment, but we also get a sense of community. What Benny started wasn't about solving the problem of getting everybody clean drinking water, because it was impossible to. When he started off, there was more than 1 billion people having no access to clean drinking water.
Right.
So now we're down to 700 million. That's better, but still we're not there. But his goal was to create something where everybody can get involved and have fun while doing it. And when you do something like that and people profit from it, that's why we call Vivocon Aqua not a non-profit organization, but an all-profit organization. Everything we do, we try to make it all profit.
So everyone profits.
So everyone profits. Wherever you donate, you get something back. Wherever you participate and volunteer for Vivocon Aqua, you get something back. And in the end, your life has changed because your life is more happy, your life is better.
How about in the communities that you're serving? When you go in there, do you ask the people to help build the project and work on the project and maintain it? So it's truly sustainable. You can't obviously be going back and forth to Uganda every week and fixing pumps and that kind of thing.
I would actually like to go to Uganda more often, but yes, it's true. That's a really important part. You get to get the people involved in the project from the beginning. Because when we finance a well or finance toilets or hand wash facilities or whatever, we don't own them. They don't belong to us. They are owned by the community.
Sure.
But that sense of understanding needs to be there. It needs to be their well. They need to keep it. They need to repair it. But they need to know how.
Right.
So what we do is we build the capacities to have the knowledge transported and to give people the actual ownership of whatever we finance. Because in the end, it's not about us building things, it's about giving people access to water.
Right.
And the thing that they need is the money to build things. So we provide the money because the money is here.
Right.
And then in the end, when that is working out, is water the baseline for everything else? Because after water comes education, nutrition, businesses.
Sure.
And
you talked a little before about having kind of this cultural shift or this education, and that's kind of our primary goal with urban farming education is that we have a preschool to senior level in high school, or in Africa they call it primary and secondary school. But our idea is that we're bringing concepts out to the community using basically two different education models that we think is very productive. But the idea is to build that capacity. So we build capacity in community, and we do the same thing when it comes to climate smart agriculture, because that's primarily our bent. And then we're doing that with the education as well by teaching the teachers and going in. And we try to stay close to that mission. But when you go into a community, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Like we're doing light bulbs in a school, or we're rebuilding a brick wall, and working with 2 teachers who wanted to make French fries. So we have these micro projects, and it's kind of hard to, when you start, where do you finish? But the idea for us is, and what we're learning is that we have to work with other NGOs that have a similar bent. They want to go out and help, but they're working on something very different. And you guys are working on water. So, at some point, soccer player becomes an engineer, because that's really what you have to do to be a water specialist, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, Benny does not know how to drill a well, and he's never learned it. And he will maybe never learn it. And he doesn't need to, because if you find the right partnerships, if you find the right people, then you can partner up and do things like that. We focus on water, sanitation, and hygiene in our projects, and that's what we do, nothing else. But the other partners we're working together with, they come in doing nutrition, they come in doing other things that are there as well.
Because then you have a bigger impact for that community that you're serving, right? So I won't drag you out much more than this, but tell me about the projects. You have, I think it was 3,000 projects at this point in the game, or something crazy.
Looking back in history, yes, that's true. Right now, we've got, I think, 9 project countries with different projects in it. And the thing is, there's no blueprint. Nobody sits in Hamburg, Germany, having a blueprint of how a water project in Uganda, Ethiopia, or Nepal should look like. Because the need needs to come from the place where the water project is, in the end, developed.
So you'd said earlier that they find you, you don't find them.
Mostly. Because we have like clear focus areas now, because we concentrate on the places on Earth where water is the biggest issue, which is the eastern part of Africa at the moment, and then for us, Nepal and India, because actually in India, the sanitation topic in India is huge, and to get that changed would change a lot in the world. But once you've got this focus area where you're working in, then you can develop from there. Because in countries like Ethiopia, we started working in 2010, which is now 14 years ago, and keep developing from there, finding new projects, or as we say, like the projects find us, because we've got partner organizations, we know the government, we know people there, and they say like, hey, we've got a project coming up. We've got a town in Ethiopia, for example, Ijaji, where they said like, we need water systems to supply the town with water. And we usually work in remote areas. We don't do towns, so to say, because it's a lot more complicated. But that was just making sense. So we find a partner, we do the project, and then everybody's happy.
And Ethiopia is still in a state of civil war. So I was there a couple of years ago, and it's, if you're in one district, there's people from that district that are not happy with people from this district or whatever, and the ruling class has only got a small portion of it. So how do you navigate that? Because do you have like an entire team that you develop there also here? Mostly, how does that work?
Mostly we work partners that are already in the country. We don't send teams from here to somewhere. We've got our own teams in Uganda working from there, which is quite good, and South Africa as well. Complicated situations like in Ethiopia do not occur that much in the Vivocon Aqua context, because we do not do emergency response work. We do usually work in countries where you can develop projects on a larger scale for several years. When the conflict in Ethiopia broke out, it was actually in a district that was not related to our project. Last year, it moved into Amhara region, which is where we do one of our projects. So we had to stop the work. Still financing the people working there, but they couldn't work for quite some time, actually. They've started off working now like 2 months ago and have been not working for 1 year because the conflict was so close and we didn't want to bring anybody into danger. Good thing if you can say that about a conflict like that, where, look, I mean, the conflict in Ethiopia was the deadliest war on earth last year. Just fact. Nobody talks about it, but that's a fact.
There's a lot of competitions for deadliest war.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we got a lot of them going on,
But,
right? But
that one
like,
is,
yeah. So we're in Eastern Africa as well, but we're not in the same countries, which is interesting, right? And I have no idea how we got to where we are, but it keeps expanding, and I expect to be probably in other countries as well with the model and the approach we have. But we're in Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, each with their own unique sets of issues and problems. You are in 9 countries, you said, including Nepal, which is really not in that area per se. But so where are you in Eastern Africa at this point?
We're actually, we started off in Ethiopia. We are working very close in Uganda, and our biggest projects at the moment are in Uganda. We are in Zambia actually doing a water project in the capital of Lusaka.
Okay.
Our colleagues from Austria are doing projects in Malawi. We are doing projects in Kenya. We have been doing projects in Rwanda in the past, and we go down to South Africa as well. So Mozambique, we are doing projects in Mozambique. So it's like traveling Eastern Africa until Southern Africa. Keeps going.
You have to go there and be there for a while to have an understanding of how to get around, even, and to who to talk to and what to do, because it can be a little bit frustrating and take quite some time.
It always takes time, because it's like you don't do short projects. We usually do projects that are at least 2 years till 6 years long, and then are planned for that time as well, because you need to connect with the authorities, connect with the communities, have like every partner on board, and then keep working from there, because then it gets sustainable. If you do just one small thing, it's hard to keep the progress and to have it really sustainable. And for example, every country and every project is different. I've missed Tanzania before, because Tanzania is completely different. We work in a mountain region in Tanzania where you can't drill a deep well, and where rainwater harvesting due to climate change is not enough anymore to collect water.
Sure.
So we finance fog collectors. Looks a bit like a volleyball net, collecting fog from the clouds, providing clean drinking water to schools.
Which is a whole different set of equipment.
True, and takes a whole different set of planning as well. So yeah, it's really interesting where you go and how to adapt your projects. But as I said before, the need comes from the country within, so and the people and the communities. So yeah, every project's different, but the Vivocon Aqua way to do it is always the same. We provide drinking water, sanitation, because if you don't have sanitation, your cleanest water will be polluted, and hygiene. And hygiene is the part where the whole Vivocon Aqua DNA comes in, doing art, music, and sports, like changing behavior of people, not by telling them to change, but by using, I brought you something, football for wash, for example, manuals and drills, football drills that explain how bacteria spreads or how you wash your hands to children. When the children learn it, they have fun while doing it, so they learn it, they want to learn it, and then they take it home to their parents, and the parents learn it.
Sure.
And that's the Vivocon Aqua way of doing things. And to conclude the whole thing, I said before in the beginning, my first job for Vivocon Aqua was working within an art gallery in a football stadium. And that's what the whole concept of Vivocon Aqua is in a nutshell. One of our founders, one of Benny's friends, Micha Fritz, went to the FC St. Pauli, the football club, and said like, hey, I've got a friend who's an artist and he wants to display photos and art somewhere, and I thought your stadium is a perfect place to do an art gallery. And that's a football club. And they said like, you're not doing an art gallery in our stadium. It's like not meant to be an art gallery. Micha is quite persistent when he does want to do something. And so he kept telling them, he said, it's the perfect place, we need to do it. In the end, they said, yes, you can do it. And he started off by doing a small exhibition in the stadium. And then from there on, it grew and grew and grew. And now it's one of Germany's biggest street art festivals every year, with like between 12 and 17,000 people visiting the art gallery in the stadium for just one weekend in a year. And hundreds of artists from all over the world coming to a football stadium to paint the walls. And for the club, it gets like really interesting because the paintings on the wall stay for a whole football season. Yeah. So the stadium of St. Pauli in the inside is one of the most colorful stadiums in the world.
Mosaic of...
And it's connected to different countries, different artists, to loads of different people. And it connects football, art, music, and everything Vivocon Aqua does. Huh. And in the end, the profits go to the water project.
Well, we saw with COVID the idea of how germs can spread, right? I mean, in a drastic way. So sanitation is a big thing, but if you don't have accessible water, it doesn't become, part of your normal thought process. And again, that's kind of where our process is going into the schools and showing the kids from an early age all the way through whenever they terminate in school, how to do climate smart agriculture, how to grow food for themselves, and how to do a lot of the things they're doing. And we started, I had a community garden probably 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, did that for about 6 years. And then it's been about 6 years with UFE, but I have a lot to learn from you guys, and I'm going to pick your brain. I love some of the business model concept, and I love the idea of how he got so many other people involved and volunteers involved. And you're right, you have to make it fun to make it work. And so, it's always a work in progress, but you have to be sustainable. If you're anybody, whatever the organization is, you have to have ways to pay for what you're doing, and then you have to have community. We came up with the understanding early on that it's all about community. If you're not working with community, then nothing works. But I appreciate you. Been so far a great morning, and thanks for
having us.
For joining. And we'll stay in touch.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Like, share, and subscribe for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for additional resources and visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey. Until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.